Hello and welcome. It is 12 minutes past 9 p.m. That means 2112 on the 21st of 02/2025. So the 21st of February 2025, a Friday. I am already feeling the new moon, and the reason I've come on today is that I was reminded this is the hundredth video or audio podcast I've done. There's another one I have yet to put up that I did a week ago, and right now I would like to focus in a moment. I'm sorry, it's impossible to start without an introduction. I usually go to this small town once a week, and I went today, and it was a sunny noon and afternoon, and it was warmer than the last weeks, yet sharing space with two nice other humans where the conversation went on about not so nice things impacted my solar plexus so much that I ended up getting this stomach pressure that I got a few weeks ago. And despite the fact I actually try to let go, it hasn't left my solar plexus. And because the original reason for starting this channel, Blue Room 2023, in January 2023, was to do sharings and to support nature, the animals, in the end all human beings, but more so the nature, the land, the all animals, particularly the wild animals, but also domesticated animals, but also the trees and the plants and all the elementals of the waters and the air and the soil and so on. It feels that I need to tune in, that I make a big thing of it. It has to do with this renewable energy thing called wind park and solar panel parks. And, I don't read local newspapers and I don't listen to mainstream news, but you still pick up things because other people talk about it, or some of the people who have blogs or have podcasts ask questions about this. And so I just would like to say that I did send an email, and I don't know if this is an important enough question to ask about wind parks and solar parks and the impact on nature, animals in particular, but also the cutting of trees and the attitude of human beings in a country that started with an environmental green party or whatever 30, 40 years ago, who demonstrated against many injustices things, and how this thing about energy seems to be above all, and basically selling out home, selling out nature, selling out natural ways of being in a area of natural beauty of a certain type because of the river and tributaries of the Elbe River that goes into the North Sea. But this entire area 1,000 years ago was still ocean floor. And so it's quite an intricate ecosystem, but it has been in disharmony and not in equilibrium because of intensive agriculture practices, particularly monoculture, particularly using animal excrement, and that wouldn't be the problem if there wasn't so many drugs in it, like residue of antibiotics, not to talk about anything else, but then also glyphosate, and that we still have that as a main way of growing whatever crop. Can't imagine anybody would want to eat that, but and then the runoff of all of that into the water supply, which then, I don't know, for the first time in 3 decades, there are concerns about groundwater being poisoned. And however, it is more about, I'm sorry, it's really affecting me physically. And for some reason, I couldn't leave that place. I did manage to leave it. I just didn't want to. We are human beings. We use social occasions to exchange our views. It is just that I don't interact with many human beings. I am with the four-legged, and I am tending to the gardens here because it is an oasis. I don't use pesticides, and I welcome all animals here. It is a rural area. There is hunting that goes on at certain seasons, and then pheasants and others come here. There's deer that comes here. Yeah, but there is an ecosystem that has its own rhythm. There are migrating birds that land near the fields here, and there is a rainwater bog, which is quite an unusual more bog area that is a nature reserve, and I'm not far, about 20 minutes drive from the UNESCO, whatever that means, protected area of the Wadden Ocean, well, North Sea Park, and it is really in many ways a tourist area that seems to get destroyed because really all the villages have underneath their name, the holiday village thing. But who wants to come here if everything stinks of excrement like it did today? Not just the milk cows, but it was, I don't know where there is a chicken farm. I didn't before smell this. It has to do with how the wind is and whatever put whatever on whatever field. And just to say, we still have frozen ice on the river banks. So really, you're not allowed to put anything on the field when there is frozen land, and only because the temperatures have been warming up to 5 or 10 plus compared to -10 we had a few days ago. The ground is still frozen underneath. So anyway, and the other thing is that it's done often in secret. And to my research, supposedly a hectare can take 6,000 cubic liters, and the legal limit is 3 times that, 18,000. But the point is, what is the real thing if you have bad water? And this is a few years ago, because it always gets published at the end of the year. I haven't checked last year's, but the fact that 3 times more is allowed on the ground, what the ground biologically can absorb, means all the runoff ends up in the river and it gets brown and the fish come up, and then you've got green algae, unnatural growth, because too much, and you have a lot of plant growth, but it is growing fast and high. It doesn't grow in the body itself. And then you can imagine all the animals walking through the grass, breathing the air just like the humans, absorb this. And yes, if we have a high vibration and you're healthy, your body can do this, but it's not particularly nice, especially when there is blue sky. And what affected me, though, what is staying with me, is not so much that. It's more to do with the attitude. Apparently from the Oster, which is a tributary of the Elbe, and the Elbe goes, from the Czech Republic all the way via Hamburg and so on into the North Sea here. And there are many other issues regarding the Elbe, container ships and sand, and the fact that they want to dig it out deeper and deeper and whatever. But it has to do with the whole, what is called an Au, which is the water tributaries that, like a delta, yeah, which all the small tributaries that then flow into the main river. And then there is one forestry area called the Wingst, which is kind of the highest point of 76 meters because it's flat land, but it is a foresty area. There are not many foresty areas here. And that too is nature reserve and tourist destination. And apparently there are supposed to be many, many, many new windmills, the modern types, wind parks. And it's a Swiss company that is investing. And they're getting the subsidies from the government, apparently. I haven't researched any of this. This is from those that lived here a few decades, and they lived there where this happened. This is eyewitness account. And the conversation started not with the windmills, but started with the fact that one so-called farmer in his end 20s, so a young person, has over 600 hectares, which is a lot for this area. And I assume, yeah, he's got cows, and he instructed a person or a company to cut down trees, and they cut them at around 4 or 5 feet, so not at the very bottom, and just let the trunks roll wherever and let them roll into the small canals, because apparently they want to put these drainage canals, they want to put soil over it, whatever. It's all kind of to do with, you know, making rivers straight and cutting all the natural vegetation. And apparently, yeah, they want to have windmills, but the tall ones, the 250-meter ones. And that means, yeah, it's amazing. It means taller than any tower that you have here. But then they want to do high voltage solar panel parks with fences and make it, these fences are so high that no animal can get across apparently. But it also means that the animals from one forest area can't go to another forest area, even though that was all the time like that. And so I asked, don't they do any kind of tunnels or bridges for them like they do when they construct motorways? And well, no, that costs money. So it was all kind of this talk. And there are offshore wind parks too, and it isn't researched how much this affects wildlife. And I'm not sure if you are aware of the whales, 157 apparently of them, that beached themselves a few days ago on a Tasmanian beach, so in Australia. And who knows if this is an earthquake or if this is some sonar. It is just that, okay, on one level you can say there is no death and the soul goes just to another dimension. But on the earth level, why would over 150 whales intentionally beach themselves onto a deserted beach? And why is it affecting my stomach or solar plexus area so much? And what is it that these two lovely people talked about, but how did it affect me? Was it just a compounded, well, let's call it negative news, because it was like a catch-up thing, and there were like 10, yeah, it feels negative because it feels energetically as if patriarchal way, power over, one person wants this, so this is within the main line, and therefore it's going to happen, even though the locals don't want it, and because it's basically selling your home, yeah, because you get a lifelong rent, but then everywhere you have these ugly, loud, because they're making a murmur, and we are on this water-bogged, marshy area where the sound travels as a vibration. It's not ideal to put up anything and it's certainly not eco-friendly. And why here? Why can't a Swiss company not invest in Switzerland? You know, why come into rural agricultural land that has a special nature that you don't find in many places because of the salt and sweet water, because of the Atlantic Ocean, and because of the special way the land was created with these Dutch water engineers 1,000 years ago. And these small canals are very important for the drainage of the land. And thing is, they also let the water or the drain more than they should, because so the heavy machinery can go on to the fields. But my heart, my being is just hurting for nature and the animals. And so, yeah, so I felt to ask Taro by Isabella, if you know her. Isabella was the Swiss, no, the Swedish lady that lays tarot, if she could maybe ask the crystal ball or lay some tarot cards on it. So I don't know if she, I mean, there are many questions she gets, and there are maybe areas on this planet where there are worse things happening, so I'm not sure this would get answered. But I felt I needed to ask, and then I got the nudge that maybe the reason I feel this so strongly in my core, because maybe instead of asking someone else, and there's nothing wrong with it, you know, if one feels to get support, the more the merrier. Maybe I should apply my talents, and this is why I came on today. And I'm sorry that why do I apologize? I am a deep person. The I feel the new moon, yeah, that's the other thing, even though it's a few days away, and I know it is a lot of water, a lot of Pisces, Cancer, and then the degrees are very much in conjunction of my sun and my moon, and you got the Virgo Pisces axis, and you got this triangle though between the Piscean stellium, Mars and Cancer, and Neptune moving over to Aries. You got the Venus, you got the Saturn, yeah, and then I have my Chiron and Pisces, but it's all to do with the ending of the astrological year, the Pisces season, and then the 0 grad Aries, which signifies spring or signifies the new astrological year, and this anaretic degree of Neptune, which has been going on for eons, and we got Mercury and Virgo, yeah, I mentioned Venus. So much going on, and so I can almost say I regret having gone to town, or let's say I regret having gone to see this person, even though it was a question I wanted to ask. And then this lovely lady who runs a cafe there in this area, and they both have nice properties with some land and have put a lot of work and refurbishing it. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it is this last patriarchal manipulation. I just can't get it that somebody who is in his 20s has so much land, 650 hectares, and gets so many subsidies, says things like, we don't need trees. So this sounds like mind manipulation. Anyhow, I didn't want to have this monologue, and I apologize for that. But Mars is currently my ninth house. This is very much philosophical, and Jupiter is in Gemini, and that is just making me talk when I get a chance to talk. But it isn't the talking, it is the physical. So I wanted to tune in, and I'm not sure I will get anything, as I feel when we have a symptom, we can ask the body part. So you can, if you feel like it, and if you still listen, support this in tuning in as well, making a comment, or you can follow the guided sharing that I will do in a minute and put something that is concerning your home, your area, your nature around you. There are many, many different projects out there that are not kind to animals. And yeah, I understand the idea of renewal. I understand that there is a positive aspect in certain crisis situation. It is just such an imbalance between what humans want and what other beings' right is on Earth as well. And the fact that we all are supported by this planet and this cosmos, and we just treat it so badly. So I just would like to go in if I can fathom what is going on, and let's just breathe into that dull, cramping pain feeling. There is something that wants to let go of some sort of poison, maybe something from the ancestral line. You know, we have to remind ourselves that most pesticides come out of the chemical warfare labs, and I'm getting something like an Agent Orange thing. So that is, and there's lots in the oceans, and there's lots in the land, and actually, in fact, most animals help clear the old patterns. But this is like, a kind of muddy, grayish, muddy, slimy type of substance. It seems to come out of our cellular structure from the ancestral. And the feeling I'm getting is that they may try to put these solar panels and also these windmills there, but that the first ones they put up, they kind of collapse because the ground isn't made for this. And then they put more cement, more concrete on it, and even that concrete base is moving. So whatever certificate they need from the build from the stats from the building, and there are a handful of people who will write like a citizen initiative against this, stating basically that the land isn't suitable. But the bigger picture is it seems there will be a European-wide, but if the EU breaks up, then it may be in some of the main European countries discussion about, and it has to do with these global companies. I know there's a Danish corporation here, and it seems there's a Swiss corporation here as well, and they are big players, and they do that for the money, and they have good lawyers and technicians and so on, and this pseudo solution because of the anti-nuclear thing, even though there are lots of nuclear plant in other countries, a few hours away, closer than Chernobyl, late 80s, if you remember. But this is not an environmentally friendly. They may use it in saying it's renewable energy, but the point is the nature is not renewable if you put these huge cables down and build roads and cut down forests and damage the environment through these noise and light pollution, and also through interfering with the natural. It seems that there will be an investigation by nature lovers regarding ancient, I would call them footprints, but the Spanish word is cañadas. So ancient, mm, you know, the path that wildlife does, their walkways. Yeah, if you see that when there are deer, they use the same route or route, and usually when you walk, you walk on them because all animals then use that because it is also often a ley line pattern. So it's not just a landscape thing coming from one point to the other in the most protected way, away from human busyness, but it is also an energetic orientation that they take. So it seems that it won't happen, but it seems that some things, some trees will be affected, areas will be affected, and eventually glyphosate will be not allowed to be put on here anymore. But saying this, if you have container ships putting their heavy oil, because they're heavy duty industrial motors. They are not high-end modern, yeah, but then cruise liners often are not. So this is often technology that is not the latest technology, and oof, a lot of diesel and a lot of things that are thrown out, not even to talk about whatever is put into the ocean as waste from sanitary and whatever is put in the ocean from this ship traffic. And then also to say that many foreign registered ships, they don't have these restrictions in their waters. But this is very densely populated compared to other areas in the world, and this is not this, these are not huge landscape. There are less populated areas, but not compared to big countries. I'm still having this, I can't get to the kernel what it is. Surely my heart goes out to the animals and to the land, and surely my being and my body finds it so a different world, because whatever my origin is, you don't damage nature, you take care of it. Okay, apparently there will be discoveries, and this is for the solar panels as much as for these wind turbine construction. There is either something in the cables, or it has to do with how the construction of these things is done. There seems to be, whatever chemicals they use, there seems to be a leakage. And in the end, so maybe it is production fault or something. But there are heavy metals. This is how I can describe it. It seems to be a fluid thing. I don't know what is used, or it is melting even though it shouldn't melt because it's bad quality and doesn't come from here, or it seems that whatever cable stuff they're laying, the protective layer is being damaged. It's a bit like when you have a battery and the acid comes out. It seems to be something like that, and I don't know anything of the technology in detail. But it seems to have to do with the cables. So it doesn't really matter if you have a windmill or you have a solar panel. it is the infrastructure of these cables. There seems to be leakage. And in fact, it happens not just there. There seems to be a material fault, a bit like, when you have car production, there are some parts that go wrong. And here they used something to fill this in or to insulate it, that for some reason, environmentally, the cable protection gets brittle and that oozes out. It's as if you have batteries rotting and going into the environment. So whatever it is that seems to happen with both, and it's a scandal in the end, and then the companies go bust or have to whatever, make bankruptcy, become a new owner, have a new name, but point is that it won't happen. However, the stress, there may be people who are moving out because they don't want to live with that in the backyard. So, but how will they clean it up? I don't know. They will have some sort of into the ground type of vacuum cleaner type of thing. The point is, it's in the soil, it's poisoning the soil, and it's just a matter of time when it ends up in the water supply. There will be plants that will grow better because they're just as resistant. But okay, what will happen is that the agricultural land or the green land, whatever. So basically, it used to be a differentiation if you produce just hay or if you actually have another crop. So, whether this is meadowland or this is agricultural certified land, and all that stuff has changed, because it has to do with the soil points. But then it's all oriented towards feeding, making animals grow quick and fat and produce a lot of milk or produce a lot of meat. And so it's very high energy food that isn't really healthy because it's not healthy for, slow things. Give good quality, not fast things. So this seems to be one part, but there seems to be some other scandal involved. I don't know if this is something to do with contracts, and you could call it corruption in the widest way. It's not official corruption, but there seems to be some mistakes in the contracts regarding liability. But eventually, whatever court that will decide this, the companies will clean up the act, and also they cannot build these high windmills, and they cannot do the high voltage solar parks. It's not working here. So the whole thing becomes really expensive for the windmills, and it is making it not commercially viable to put hundreds up. And the stuff with the high voltage electricity thing, apart from the fact it's far too dangerous, I don't know if there's going to be some kids a party there or something. There is something not nice going on. So, but on the whole, basically, it won't work. The solar panels are too heavy, and so are the windmills. And why didn't they know that? Because, well, the engineers did the measuring, but they don't know the seasons and they don't know the intricacy of the land due to, whether there's a lot of rainwater or runoff water or a lot of water is being drained or there's little. And this area has really quite a lot of rainfall when every other areas in Germany are suffering normally. Here is rainfall. So, okay. Yeah, but it isn't everything. There is something else to do with animal rights. Maybe, okay, one thing I'm getting is the discussion about animals becoming sentient beings front of the law rather than, you know, a pet is just like a piece of luggage. It's a thing. And therefore you can't actually, yeah, you get a fine if you do something unkind to an animal. So far, it hasn't got any human rights. Please, if you know of any animal rights that have changed, I only know of New Zealand, and it's a few years ago, where an animal has the same rights as a human being. Yeah, maybe there is one or two, maybe there's another Scandinavian country, maybe there's another couple of countries worldwide, but generally, animals are just things. This is a bit like slavery in a way, like when humans used to be just things. There's more to do. There's something to do with that whatever poison gets into the environment is bad for newborn babies. So I don't know if they will have children born with, let's call it reaction to whatever was leaking there. I will have to stop in a minute, as this pressure. And maybe an ascension syndrome, but it's curious that I had it after I went there. And yes, it could be the building, but it could be or something. If you speak to people, you exchange codes, right? Well, it was too much negative. Why is it negative? Yeah, because it was all about all the examples that were given were examples of human beings not caring about their neighbor, not caring about, are basically being irresponsible. And, excuse me, and then this, divide and conquer tactic. Okay, we'll just take a minute or so and breathe into the center, into the core. So I trust that excuse me, there's just an energetic wave coming right now. Okay, thank you. I we trust that equilibrium will be restored. Thank you.